What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and today's video is another monthly Q&A, so I guess this one is for the month of October. A little bit late because of all the hype surrounded around the ladder reset and Sunder charms and all that good stuff, but I have to admit, these are some of my favorite videos to make because you guys ask me some of the coolest questions that just creates really interesting discussion in the comment section below. So thank you for everyone who participated in all of the questions for this series. Again, if you want to have your question featured in the next video, just let me know in the comment section below. I grab all of the questions from this video. They'll be featured in next month's video. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Let's jump in. So question number 1 comes from channel member Rhino. His question is, if we could rewind a few months in time before the 2.5 patch was announced and you had to choose from these two options, what would it be? To keep the current implementation of Terror Zones and Sunder charms, or a minor character balance change with the implementation of a currency tab and loot filter, A or B? This is a very tough question. I actually really appreciate the question, Rhino, because I have been advocating for a loot filter and currency tab for a very long time. I feel like those are sort of the two final missing pieces for D2R to sort of meet the standard bar of all quality of life from modern day ARPGs. Now with that being said, I think that overall the implementation of Sunder charms and Terror Zones has been a positive change for the game. It has allowed some new builds to shine. You can magic find new areas. It's made the race to 99 a little bit less monotonous. Now with that being said, I don't think that the implementation is perfect. There's definitely a few things that I would tweak, and I'm going to post-edit a clip here from stream where I've kind of answered sort of my overall thoughts in regards to Terror Zones of patch 2.5, so I'll roll that now. It is impossible to please everybody. From people that can play 40 hours a week to those that can play 4 hours a week, to those that think the game was perfect and to never change it, to those that have played modern day ARPGs that think it lacks in some regards. It is impossible to please everybody, but I do believe, for the most part, while the game is not perfectly balanced, patch 2.5 was a big step forward. Terror Zones, Sunder charms, allowing some new builds and new areas to magic find, I think is a good thing for the game. They could have done it in a different way. Maybe you don't agree, but I think overall it's better, period. Like, nobody would ever run a Fire Druid in Chaos Sanctuary before. This ladder you can. So I think that while some things are like wildly imbalanced, like the Cold Sorceress and Cold Sunder Charm, overall, I genuinely believe that this patch has been a positive step forward. And if they modified a few other things in the future, like some new rune words, some new unique items, change some existing unique items, like I think the game is in a far better place than what it was like 1.13 LOD. Quick cast, quality of life, auto gold pickup, like it's in a much better place. So question number 2 comes from JV7243, and it's a very interesting one, which in my opinion is pretty difficult to answer in its entirety. But his question is, I'd really like to see much greater class diversity at the start of each ladder, make more builds efficient for farming and acquiring gear. What changes would you make to ensure that the 7 classes are more evenly played during the item farming phase? This is a very difficult question to answer. I know I already said that, but I think that it boils down to 2 fundamental issues with the disparity between the Sorceress and casters versus melee. The first is that the Sorceress has access to teleports, so being able to get down to Mephisto or Andariel quickly, or maybe Ancient Tunnels, or wherever you're magic finding, the ability to teleport just separates her early on compared to other builds that don't have access to a mobility skill. So I think the first thing that you could do is possibly add some sort of movement or mobility skill to each character class. I know that Project Diablo 2 has done that with like the Paladin with a charge skill, a teleporting skill with cooldown for the Druid. Just some form of mobility that's not Enigma that just allows other characters to get from point A to point B a little bit quicker. That would be one initial change that I think would address some of the issue that you're referencing. And the second major issue, I think, is just the disparity between casters and melee. So caster, if you're Blizzard Sorceress, you have Lore Helmet, Spirit and a Sword, Spirit and a Monarch Shield. If you're casting Blizzard, your Cold Mastery is bringing monsters well into the negative. You have a 100% chance to hit with Blizzard versus melee that's so bound to getting a decent weapon, and then your chance to hit, unless you have dual angelics or something like that, your initial chance to hit is going to be very rough starting out. If you don't have a source that cannot be frozen, your damage output is just like halved, your gim just in terms of like your attack speed. So I think that possibly maybe making some adjustments to the damage range of bases to make some cheap melee rune words a little bit stronger, and also maybe modifying the chance to hit calculation a little bit so it's not quite as rough to have a chance to hit early on as a melee character, might make that gap a little bit less like large between caster and melee. But that would be 2 fundamental starting points that I would maybe take a look at or possibly tweak to add some more viability to some of the other character classes outside of the Sorcerers during sort of the gear up phase of ladder. So the next question is from Lame C God, and his question is, what does it take for Diablo 4 to be your main game instead of Diablo 2? When Diablo 4 launches, unless it is a steaming pile of garbage and it doesn't have very good reception from the community, it will become my main game. I'm probably going to shift my content to be 75 to 80% Diablo 4, and then sort of around Diablo 2 Resurrected Ladders, and if new content is introduced, I will cover that. But I'm definitely going to be shifting and trying to prioritize Diablo 4 because I've pretty much done almost everything that I can do in Diablo 2 Resurrected. I've made every rune word, I've hit level 99, I've played pretty much every single build, so outside of maybe experimenting in PvP, which I might a little bit, there's not really a lot for me to do anymore, and there's not really a lot of kind of new content to cover. Pretty fortunate because with like Diablo 2 Resurrected and Sunder Charms and character balancing at 2.4 and Terror Zones, it has made like new content around the game, but eventually that will fizzle out. It's not going to be the same as Diablo 4, the open world concepts, you know, character classes, more advanced skill trees and whatnot. So I'm really hoping that the game is not a steaming pile of garbage because I plan on transitioning to making Diablo 4 my main game moving forward. So the next question is from NV, and this is one that I knew was going to pop up. His question is, how are you feeling about Cold Mastery mixed with Cold Sunders now that some time has passed? Fine, too much, over / underrated. I definitely think that Cold Sunders and the Blizzard Sorceress is definitely too powerful. Might not be the popular answer, but let's be real here for a second. Having, let's say, a Shaco, Odo, Monarch Shield, like Spirit and Monarch Shield, Viper Magi, just that decent amount of gear with an Insight Mercenary, being able to pretty much flatline any monster anywhere, no questions asked, with just the power of Cold Mastery, it's a little bit too much. At least I think it is. If you compare it to my Fire Druid, it has a perfect Raven Lore, Fire Faceted Crystal Sword, I have a Torch Annie, all inventory of elemental skillers, I just rolled Phoenix and a Monarch Shield. That character is still kind of borderline competitive with the Blizzard Sorceress that I just mentioned. So look at the disparity of gear there. We're talking like 7 facets, Vex Lowjaw for the shield, Torch, Annie, all skillers to just sort of match a mediocre Blizzard Sorceress. I think that it's a little bit overtuned in my opinion. It might not be a popular answer, but that's pretty much sort of the side that I'm taking with Cold Sunders and the power of the Cold Sorceress. Question at number 5 is from Vinilin Stefanov, I hope I pronounced that correctly. What do you think about the Sunder Charm drop rate? Too high or just about right? This is another controversial question, similar to the Cold Sorceress and Sunder Charms, which I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me, but I think that the drop rates are a little bit too much. Just to put it into perspective, if we exclude the ladder reset night and the item find bug with Sunder Charms, I have found probably 20 Sunder Charms to 1 Geed's Grand Charm now. I think that that is a little bit too much. Again, I definitely can appreciate there's players that can't play more than like 5-6 hours a week, and I totally get like wanting to have access to that charm to farm other areas. But I think that in a game that's really sort of built around a loot grind, because there isn't a ton of endgame progression, right? There's nothing to do past Uber Tristram and Diablo Clone. There's no like continuing like measured boss events to push similar to like a game like PoE. All that you really have is the loot chase, and just having it so that you can find like, I'm finding like 5 of them an hour in a specific terror zone in a populated player group on stream. So I definitely think it's a little bit too much. Might be a controversial take, but I would like to see the Sunder Charms dialed back a little bit. So the next question is from OP Plays, and his question is, love the content. My question, what rune would you like to see buffed? Either one that doesn't see much use in a new rune word, or the effect of a rune when it is socketed into a piece of equipment. So I'm going to go with a Sur rune here. The hit blinds target on a weapon is not super desirable, and I think that since it's rarer than an Ohm rune, maybe add enhanced damage to this effect for weapon hit only. Like the plus mana on a shield is fine, but have it so the Sur rune is chance to blind target when striking and an additional 50% enhanced damage. So it might kind of add a little bit more use to a Sur rune outside of just cubing up to a Bur rune. Like maybe you find a really nice weapon that you want to throw a Sur into it to get hit blinds target and 50% enhanced damage instead of just using the Sur to make a Bur, if that makes sense. So that's what I would tweak, is I would modify the weapon effect for a Sur rune specifically. So the next question is from Zurich, and his question is, what class do you plan on starting D4 with? I'm torn between Necro and Druid. This is a very easy one to answer. I'm definitely going to be going Druid. From what I've seen from the Diablo 4 footage so far, I think the elemental-based Druid looks very cool. Sort of the earth-based skills of, I believe it's like Tornado, Lightning, and Released Rock or whatever. That's what it looks like so far they've seen from the footage. So definitely going to be going pure elemental Druid. Probably going to stay away from shapeshifting just because Diablo 2 and just melee in general I've never really enjoyed, so I think I'm going to start off as a pure elemental focused druid in Diablo 4. So the second last question comes from D-Shark, and his question is, what do you think about adding FCR as a mod that can roll on rare jewels? I think this is a very cool idea, and I would even go further with saying add them to magic jewels as well. Maybe have a cap of 5 FCR, so let's say you find a jewel and it could maybe roll like 5 FCR and 30% fire resistance. It could be a cool complement for a druid pelt to maybe kind of make the gap to jump up to 163 FCR like a little bit more feasible. I think that 5 would be a good balance, because I think that there's the potential to maybe get into some weird territory if it was like 15 FCR jewels, because you could have like a 30 FCR Viper Magi, put this 15 FCR jewel in for 45 FCR. That might be a little bit too much, but I think that 5 FCR with a complement of like mana after kill or all res or a particular type of res would be a really cool addition to the game. It would maybe shake up some of the meta gear choices, so I definitely would be all for that. So the final question for today's video is not Diablo 2 related, but I thought it was a funny one that I'd throw in here. It comes from Brandon Collar, and his question is, Yo DB, how do you like your steak? Simple answer, medium rare. I don't like super bloody, but I don't like overcooked. Medium rare is the sweet spot for how I like my steak. But that's gonna wrap up today's video, guys, so thank you so much for participating. Again, I really do enjoy making these videos because I sort of feel like it provides a one-on-one opportunity for me to sort of focus in on some of the cool questions that you guys have. Again, if you would like to be featured in next month's installment, make sure you let me know in the comment section below of this video any questions you would like me to answer. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you guys on my next video or live stream. Peace out.